Lights means we are recording. Here we go. All
Let's
right.
do it.
All right. Hey, all right, guys. This is festivalPass Stories. It's the podcast that takes you behind the stage, the kitchen, or the studio door. And in this case, behind the locker room door, or perhaps inside the huddle, as we hear those stories of passion and inspiration that make festivals, and in this case, live events, live sporting events, great. My guest today to help us kick off the brand new and very unique NFL season, everything is very unique this year, is Giants two-time Super Bowl champion, number 66, David Diehl. David, what is happening?
I'm doing excellent, Patrick Tully. It's been a long time coming to finally do a podcast with you. I'm very excited to be able to give you some of my background of playing on starting over a decade in the NFL with the New York Giants. And it's great to be able to always have a conversation with you, to think on a day like today, September 11th.
Yeah.
You and I have known each other for over a decade. So to be able to sit here and to do a podcast on a day like this, where I felt the impact of what it meant to be a New York Giant, because I was still in college when it took place.
Yeah.
And you were with me on trips where we went to Ladder 10, right across from the World Trade Center and right across from before the new one was built, the lights, and spending time with the firemen and giving them some of the season tickets that I had for our seasons, and just showing the compassion and respect that we have for our true heroes in life.
Must have been a tough day for you guys in Illinois. You were at the University of Chief Illinois. I know that's how you like to refer to the university for the mascot, but what was it like being out there that day and just waking up to that?
Yeah, I mean, it was unreal. At that time, believe it or not, in 01, I was actually living in a 11-bedroom house. 8 football players, 3 basketball players. We all came in together in 98, but some of us redshirted, some of us didn't. And we knew it would be our last year together to live together for the entire year. And everybody was kind of going their separate ways. So it was pretty unbelievable because it was a year we won the Big Ten in football and they won it in basketball. But I mean, I still remember, and I get goosebumps waking up that morning, sitting with literally 8 of my roommates downstairs in our living room, watching the planes flying to the towers. And for me, my birthday, September 15th.
Yeah, I was about to say, you've got a very big birthday coming up in a couple of days.
Yeah, the big 4-0. And for me, that was a big weekend because playing at Illinois, we had Louisville coming in. So I had friends and family that were going to come watch the game and support me playing, and then, tailgate after and celebrate my birthday. I mean, it completely changed everything. We didn't have the game that weekend, and you could just feel walking around, the campus, how everybody, as an Illinois community came together. And, for me as a New York Giant, sitting in the practice fields of where they're located next to MetLife Stadium, I mean, you could see the lights from where we would practice and, getting ready for that September 11th weekend when we would be honoring those heroes that did so much for everybody out there. It makes you want to sharpen your teeth and just play that much more and that much harder to represent the city the right way.
Yeah, I mean, your rookie year was just 2 years, 600 plus days after it happened. I can't imagine the electricity along the sidelines. I remember guys like, later on, like guys like Tuck would come out. He had the fire helmet that he would come out, the Giants fire helmet. But what did that feel like there? And, standing there shoulder to shoulder with those first responders a couple years later, it still felt, to me, it felt so raw. And even now, 19 years later, I remember a lot of people say, I remember the smells. It was just burnt everything.
Or the images or whatever it was from that day. And that's, like you said, it's a day that everybody can remember exactly where they were at that point in time and who they were with. And for me, as a professional football player, my dad served in the Air Force in Korea and in Vietnam. So I have a tremendous amount of respect for not only our military, but, the fire department, the police department. And think about how many people volunteer. When it comes time, when adversity hits, how many people are running towards the fire instead of running away? And that's one thing that just embodies the human spirit and what being an American is all about.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Couldn't imagine being on the sideline and, just right after that, when just like this year as sports were canceled for a much different reason. But then when sports were canceled and they came back, just the feeling of having sports again, being out there. And I mean, the Yankees got to the World Series that year. And I mean, it wasn't anything new for the Yankees to be in the World Series, but the feeling, then that now it would be like we would go crazy. They're not playing so great right now, but even in a short season, we'll see where they go. And I know you love your White Sox, but I know you enjoy your time out at Yankee Stadium as well since you've been here. We could call them your adopted local team at least. I don't want to. You got to be loyal. Got to be loyal to the Sox. I
got to support the team. Got to support the team.
I got to support the South Side of Chicago. I understand, but people who were at that World Series Game 3 and President Bush arriving, people saw the Black Hawk helicopters go over top of Yankee Stadium, the old Yankee Stadium.
Yeah.
Bush coming in, people were telling him, like, this is not a good idea. And he's like, I'm going to go there. And you get bulletproof flak jacket on and everything else, but gets out there and he threw a very good first pitch.
It was a nice first pitch.
Yeah, the place went nuts and Yankees won that game. That was, just remember all of that. Just the feeling coming back and how important sports were to us then. And then in this void here, 19 years later, we had no sports for a while, and how amazing it is to be back. It's nice to see baseball. I love it.
It is.
It's nice to see hockey, and it's in the playoffs now, so that's must-watch television. And it's nice to see the MLS and WNBA and the NBA playoffs are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
The bubble. But the NFL is back, man.
I know. It's a whole different beast, and that's the exciting thing about this upcoming season. Obviously, going into any NFL season, you always can say, expect the unexpected, because there's going to be a team that's either going to take a turn for the better or a turn for the worse. In a season like this, where we didn't even have appetizers with preseason games, and we're going right into the main course, it's an exciting time where anything on any given Sunday can happen, and teams are going to be able to make runs. And, obviously, we know watching last night that the Kansas City Chiefs are a well-oiled machine. We see it in the way that they played. But the one thing that is exciting for those other teams that are coming in with new head coaches and new coordinators, this is the time that you can be creative with what you dial up, because the opposing team doesn't have film on you. So with that said, it's going to be a great time and an exciting time to watch NFL football, especially in these first couple of weeks with how many division matchups there are. You talk about starting the season fast. Well, you better start fast, because these games in the first part of your season, especially the front four, towards the end are worth usually a game and a half when it comes down to those division fights.
Yeah, and I was looking at some of the early season matchups. The Giants have a tough first 4 games, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Yep. But the Texans, you couldn't have started tougher than the Chiefs. And then they got the Ravens next, and it's like this team could be 0-4, 0-2.
Yeah.
But in that division, of course, as we know, they could be 7-9 and still get to the playoffs. And I don't want to call that backing in. I hate when people say that. Professional teams. But one of the things we talked about with Jacob Truba was how all of these games, and hockey, no disrespect to hockey, but I was saying how every game is basically like a festival. Here at festivalPass, we talk about everything in terms of festival.
Yeah.
There's merch. There's people are coming to see the talent. They're coming to see you guys. And it's such a festival. But we're talking to him about that. And I was just thinking in the back of my head, yeah, that's a festival, but there is nothing like the festival atmosphere that the NFL puts on. I mean, every Sunday for 17 weeks, and sometimes Mondays and Thursdays, I get that. But it is appointment television. I mean, you got to agree with that.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's the one sport that you've only got 16 opportunities. And when you have a bad game and you lose on a Sunday or a Monday, pardon my French, you're eating shit sandwiches for a week. It's not like baseball where you can rebound the next day, or in basketball, you've got a two-game back-to-back doubleheader on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Right.
You've got to sit there and soak it in until you get that next opportunity that following week. So it just goes to show you how precious each and every opportunity is. And you can't look behind. You've got to learn from the past. And you can't look too far ahead, because if you don't take care of what's in front of you, it's very easy for an NFL season to get away from you. And then towards the end of the year, the last thing that you want to be doing is thinking, we need to win. We need this team to lose. We need them to win, because now you're not in control of your own destiny.
A week from Sunday, people are already going to be talking about, well, let's look at who's 0-2 and how many people have made the playoffs after being 0-2 in the modern era since we've combined the leagues, and blah, blah, blah. But, hey, we'll talk about the Giants' big Monday night matchup in a moment here. But speaking of festivals, I mean, again, hockey, Stanley Cup Finals, and so on. But there is Super Bowl week.
It's a week.
One of the great. It's not just the Super Bowl. It's the Super Bowl week. You've been there twice as a player. I know it was 100% business while you were there as a player, because, hey, you came out, you won the business both times. Congratulations on winning the big account, the New England account. You won it. You won the New England account twice. Congratulations to that. But now in your professional broadcasting career, you're down there, and it's still work for you. You're down there all week long as an analyst, hosting shows. But please tell me, you are having, I think it was this year, I was down there doing some auctions and stuff, and you were just like, I'm only here for this, this, and this. And then you were
we couldn't connect, and then I had to come back,
But please tell me you're having a little bit of fun around the Super Bowl festival atmosphere these days.
No question. I mean, my whole main goal and objective from when I was drafted by the Giants in 2003 was to play in the Super Bowl. That was it. I wasn't going to a Super Bowl unless I was playing in it.
Yeah.
And then after 2007, after winning Super Bowl 42, from 2008 until I retired in 2013, I would go there to practice my broadcasting and get reps. You were there with me, and I just wanted to continue to get as much comfort and get as much opportunities to get out there and talk about a game that I absolutely love, and to give my insight of what it's like being an offensive lineman, where you're the only player on the field that doesn't know where the football is. I don't think people realize that. The football's always behind you. You think the running back's going one way, but you're not positive. You think the quarterback's going to drop in a certain spot, whether it's 3, 5, or 7 steps, but that can always change. Your understanding of an offense is all about the reaction and how a defense moves, and your ability to adapt and adjust with that. So being able to bring that in Radio Row and do that through my entire time, that's what allowed me to retire in 2013 after playing 11 unbelievable seasons with the Giants and not have a single regret. I was fortunate enough to walk away from the game instead of the game walking away from me. And when you started playing in it, and even now when I continue to go there as a broadcaster, each and every day you feel the intensity, the buildup, the energy when you keep getting closer and closer to Sunday. So it's been incredible to experience it as a player, and more importantly, to come away twice as a winner, and to continue to go there and still have, those goosebumps talking about it, because you're almost reliving it, telling the stories and giving your background of what really happens in between those lines.
And as we say, you are the man with 2 Super Bowl titles. I am just a humble fan, but it feels like that as a fan, being there, the build-up, everything around it. It's gotten crazy, but there's still places like Miami. You got to deal with crazy traffic, but we live in the New York area, so all we do is deal with crazy traffic. But what an atmosphere! What an incredible time, and and just when it comes to music festivals and other things like that, I know you like to get out there and have a good time. Before COVID, was there anything you were looking forward to, any kind of festival? Or, you're a Chicago guy. Lollapalooza started there, and that's the only place it takes place now. It used to travel. Now it's just in Chicago. But was there anything that you had on the calendar that you're like, in May, in June, we're going to this thing, I can't wait, and it was appointment festivalism?
I was actually supposed to go to France and Croatia this summer. I was supposed to go to France to stand up in one of my best friends and former teammates' wedding, Jesse Palmer's. And the following week, myself, Tina, and my daughter Addison were going to go from France and spend a week in Croatia. It would have been Addison's first time to go there. So
that would have been amazing.
I mean, to completely change the summer and the dynamic of that, I mean, it's difficult, but we're rescheduling for next summer. So that was, I mean, that's a challenge in itself when, all that hype and the expectations, when you work so hard during the year. I always laugh when I go out there and when I'm in Croatia with my family, they're always like, Polako, take it easy. You're not in New York anymore. Settle down, relax, and you get to enjoy life and not worry about time and constraints around you. So it would have just been nice to be able to do that. So we'll reschedule that for next year, but it's also allowed me to have more time with my daughter, Addison, more time to spend with her and really be the dad that I've always wanted to be. And that's one of the main reasons why I retired. When you're committed and dedicated to your craft so much, and when you're on the road and when you're at the facility, basically from August to hopefully February, Monday through Sunday, I mean, it is a grind. And you're there from 5 o'clock in the morning when I would get there till 5:30, 6 o'clock at night. And you want to be able to, number one, show your daughter why you were doing all those things. Sure. But two, to be there to support her and to be there for those memories. And this has really allowed me to do that.
And, there really is no off season for the players,
no.
especially not for the coaches. And you think about the lifestyle around that and everything else. And look, you guys won 2 titles with TC, as you guys call him. I have to call him Coach Coughlin or Mr. Coughlin, but he was all business. But outside of the business of winning championships, which he successfully did twice, there has to be, because no one got to see Tom Coughlin outside of, David, you got to block, you got to pull that sweep, you got to get that there. I'm making a
big red face. What are you doing? You see the hands going. Oh yeah.
But there's got to be a time where, in the festival atmosphere of playing for the New York Football Giants, and even maybe it was after you guys won the first time, but there had to be, you got to have a good story out there of a time where TC let his very manicured hair down.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, it was pretty funny seeing him let loose a little bit at Super Bowl 42 in Arizona, because on I want to say the Thursday before the Super Bowl, they brought in an In-N-Out food truck. Pat, it was absolutely incredible. And there we see Coach Coughlin go up, get the double-double, and the smile on his face, eating the cheeseburger was one thing that we were all laughing watching. But I think one of the funniest things that ever happened with Coach Coughlin, I want to say, I think it was in between 05 or 06. We're down at halftime. And, right before you go out to start the second half, the team circles around Coach. We're getting ready and we're down. And like I said, he's animated. He's got the arms going. He's moving. All of a sudden,
red cheeks,
turf monster, dink. He goes down. And I mean, there's nobody within arm's reach of him. And everybody's just kind of stunned. He gets up. Let's go. So we go out. We end up winning the game. We end up coming back in the second half and winning the game. Monday morning, when we got to the facility, Jeff Fiegels, being the crafty veteran and one of the greatest teammates I've ever had. I love his claim to fame is he was the last player playing in the NFL from Super Tecmo Bowl because he was punting for the Arizona Cardinals in 1989. I mean, what a stat is that? But he took white tape and did the outline of Coach Coughlin on the floor with the hat and whistle. Coach Coughlin that morning's coming walking out and he's going out to practice. He looks down, he's like, all right, that's good. And he started laughing.
Amazing. Yeah. And I've seen him in a, like a charitable environment when he wasn't coach of the Giants anymore. And they honored him at an event for an Irish organization. And the guy who was doing the Q&A, should have been you or I doing it. But anyway, let's not bring that up.
Neither here nor there.
The guy doing the Q&A said, so coach, fourth quarter, you're down 3. You've got 2 quarterbacks. You can have Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady. Who are you going to take? He goes, I'll take Eli Manning every day, twice on Sunday. Next question. It was like,
yeah.
Of course he would say that, but just it was like, your question means nothing to me. I had the guy that had ice water in his veins.
Yeah.
But speaking of being all business, from TC, a couple guys in between, now the Giants have a new coach who is 100% all business and is completely bringing that culture back to those winning ways, at least the winning disciplinary ways, the way that Coughlin was. Joe Judge, this guy is all business. In fact, yesterday, I heard he restarted practice because he wasn't happy with the intensity or something like that. And what I'm seeing, what I'm reading, is that I like to see that. And other people are saying that the players today, the captains are buying in, but he's not. They're saying there's a lot of noise out there, of course, outside of the training facility that he can't work with today's players. Yet Saquon Barkley and the other captains are all about it. Even yesterday, Saquon's like, no, I like what went on. What are your thoughts on that? And let's say they start 0-2, and of course, with my Giants mug here, it's the last thing that I want. This is the last Giants mug I have. I've smashed all the other ones. I don't want to smash this one.
Yeah.
So, is that kind of stuff going to fly if the team starts 0-2, or what do you think?
I think it's comical that people are like, well, you can't do that to players. Is that how soft that we've gotten in society? Coaching is making men do what they want and don't want to do so they can become what they want to become. As long as I've played from the time that I was a kid until now, when coaches yell at you, it's not personal.
Right.
They're yelling at you because they care and they see what your potential is. And when you take over as a new head coach of a football team, there's a reason why you became the new head coach, because they weren't good enough the seasons before. Yeah. We can all remember games where undisciplined play and breakdowns in the fourth quarter cost the Giants football team wins. We can look back and we can all remember games like that. So when you come in and you're the new head coach, you're either going to be part of the solution of this football team or you are part of the problem and you're not going to be here. So when you have that adversity come in and when you can handle that with the way that you discipline him on the field, but the relationship that he has with them off of the field, that's what changes everything. Joe Judge is, I think he's 38, 39 years old. He has an ability to go out there and coach the hell out of these guys, but sit there and laugh and talk to them and treat them like human beings off of the field. And when you're able to do that and communicate that, and now more importantly, have a coaching staff that is all surrounded about techniques and fundamentals, it's an exciting time to watch this. For me, I ran whether it was Coach Fossil, which, that was a country club structure, and with Coach Coughlin, which was a military style. Coach Coughlin loosened up and formed the leadership committee in 2007. Why did it take that long? Because we weren't a good enough football team yet. We weren't battle tested yet. We didn't have veterans other than like Michael Strahan and other guys that could really stand up and be the vocal leaders. Once we had that as a team, he could step back and let us take responsibility of the football team. And when we talk about now in 2020, especially when we're talking about a team like the New York Giants, more than 60% of the roster is under 26 years old. Right. Sterling Shepard right now is the longest tenured Giant. If there's ever a team that you could do this with, exactly. If there's ever a team that you can do this with, and with a coach that can do it, it's definitely Joe Judge. It's worked for Nick Saban. It's worked for Bill Belichick. But the thing that I love is he's doing it in his own way. He's not trying to be those two guys.
And, of course, the media, with no preseason, they've got nothing to talk about. And they don't know what his relationship is with these guys off the field. It seems pretty clear. I don't remember a time where there were two captains for each team, for offense, defense, and special teams. Maybe there was a captain and assistant captain, but I don't remember two people on each team wearing the C on the jersey. That seems to be something new.
Yeah, it would change depending on how the league did it that upcoming year. Sometimes it would be three, and then you would have two honorary captains for the game. So that's the way that they switched it out. But, the way that the NFL was set up this year, they could have 5 permanent captains. So I think that's an exciting thing for them to be able to have those guys stand up in front and not only be the leaders of this football team on the field, but in the community with what they're doing and the way that they're addressing the social justice issue that's going on right now. They've grouped together. They have teams in Staten Island. They have teams in Brooklyn. They have teams in Newark that they're going out as Giants players, not only to help support those communities, but to help raise money for great charities. That's what Giants players do, and that's what players and leaders do to step up and do the right thing in communities.
Yeah, it's a very unique time in history, and I think when we look back at this, you're going to see organizations like the New York Giants that were on the right side of history for this. So, well done to the team. But now we got to talk about some other teams.
All right.
ESPN, of course, they've got the Cowboys and the Eagles in the top 10 of their power rankings, whatever that means right now.
Yeah.
But they have them 5 and 6, in fact, back to back. And it's a long way down that list until you get to the Giants. In fact, they're just below the Jets. Below the Jets. Come on.
I know. But you know, I never played in to the power rankings before a season. Injuries happen, coaching style changes, players that are on a certain individual team aren't on that team anymore. And don't get me wrong, we have a cohesion in the Philadelphia Eagles. Same head coach, same offensive coordinator, same defensive coordinator. But they're suffering a lot of injuries now going through training camp. Andre Dillard, their starting left tackle, he's out for the season. And what they had to do with Brandon Brooks, who tore his Achilles, they signed Jason Peters off of the street. Jason Peters was supposed to be the right guard. Now he has to move to left tackle. Now they need to find another replacement at right guard. The Dallas Cowboys look great on paper, but how are they going to be able to handle a new style of defense, a new style of offense, and with a division that basically last year, the Cowboys and the Eagles limped to figure out who was going to win it. I always love when a Giants football team is under the radar because it allows you to focus at the task at hand. You don't have to worry about the outside expectations, and you take one game at a time, week by week. And, you know, I know it's a BS cliche that everybody says, but if you don't take care of business when you get out there with your only 16 opportunities, it's a regret that you don't want to ever have, that you didn't capitalize on them. Right. Because you look back at games when you're at the end of the season and you're watching film of those games that you lost, and 9 times out of 10, it's the mental errors and the bullshit that you guys did yourself than it is what the other team did.
Yeah, and look, I think they can, with the new coach and everything and the new attitude in the building, they can almost go about it. They can almost go about it Belichick style. That if anybody asks Judge any questions right now, he could say, "We're just concentrating on Pittsburgh." right now, we're just concentrating on, concentrating on Pittsburgh. That's all.
Never will change. Never will change.
And you saw it last night. We're talking discipline with teams. You saw about 8 minutes left in the third quarter last night, and the Chiefs just got their first penalty of the game.
Yeah.
Like, my God, this team is, in your words, a well-oiled machine, but they're so well coached.
I honestly was shocked about that because that was one of my main concerns with not having preseason. Not only is it a time for the players and coaches to work out some of the rust, but think about how many flags that we see thrown by official crews during the preseason, trying to figure out what the mode and how tightly they're going to inflict certain rules and what the point of emphasis is going to be for that season. So, I mean, I was pretty shocked that it went that long for them to come up with a penalty. But one of the most disappointing things I've ever seen in my life on a primetime game, opening up the season on the Thursday night, Houston Texans. You're kneeling at the end of the game with the ball. You're kneeling at the end of the game with the ball in your hand. I don't care what the score is. You send a message that no matter what, we're going to finish the job and we're going to learn from the mistakes that we made. And that's the way that you prove what type of tough, durable team that no matter what the circumstances are, you're going to fight. To come out and to kneel down and basically wave a white flag, it's a concerning thing for me to see from a team that went as far as they did in the playoffs last year.
Nearly 24 hours later, I'm still shocked by this, and nobody said anything last
night.
Nobody
talked about it. Nobody's saying anything. Yeah. It's basically knowing that you lost the marathon, you're a block away, and just saying, I'm just going to call it a day right now and take a right turn off stage. Like, I mean, finish what you're doing. Finish the job.
So that's what I was saying. Like, we all know what victory formation is. So was that loser formation last night? I have never seen that on any level of football or sport.
And it's one thing if you see it before half strategy-wise. When you're sitting there, you're backed up, you don't have enough time to punt, you don't want to put your defense on the field for another team to give a Hail Mary. That's one that's given.
Right.
But at the end of a football game, to just concede the victory to the other team, I couldn't believe I saw that on an opening night in the NFL.
Just hail one down into the end zone. But maybe, my initial thought, besides being like, what the hell is this? I've never seen this before, was perhaps this is something for safety, that the NFL has said, we've had too many stupid injuries at the ends of games. There's just no way. I was like, there's no way. I'm like,
no way.
My own head here. I'm like, there's no way.
No way.
Would have said that. That was, and there's no way the coach said, all right, go out there. There's 2 seconds. There's 2 seconds left. Take a knee.
I've never seen it. And there's only other one time in my life that I've had an awkward moment in the victory formation. It's the greatest play in football.
Yeah.
It's one of the most things. You take a knee, the ball's down, you're walking away from the game with a victory. In 2007, when we were the first team to play the Dolphins in London in the international series, it's the fourth quarter, we're kneeling because we got the game locked. The crowd's booing because they didn't understand that this is great. But it was the first time
that
they
doing?
110,000 in Wembley are booing our victory. It was,
come on.
It was incredible.
What's he doing?
Incredible.
Yeah, they didn't understand the strategy.
No, they did not.
Because as we know in soccer, or as they would say football, if you ever saw the Simpsons episode when soccer comes to town and the one guy's doing the announcement, he's like, fullback passes to sweeper, sweeper passes to fullback. And then they go to the international broadcast and the guy's like, fullback passes to sweeper, sweeper passes to fullback.
The excitement.
Yeah, and it's not very exciting.
No.
Anyway, we're talking about, we always talk about the fans here, and that was a big head scratcher for the fans.
Yeah.
Last night there were some fans in attendance, which was very interesting. And This is the only league to do it. Football, baseball, basketball, no fans. Very interesting for this. I know it's a bigger stadium. I know it's outside, but baseball, maybe they could have got away with it. But, what does that mean? One, as a Giant fan here for MetLife, who gets selected for these tickets, for the very few tickets? I'm guessing it's high-end season ticket holders and sponsors and so on, but none of which are sponsoring this podcast, so none of them are going to get a shout-out. Right? Verizon, did you hear me, Verizon? Did you hear me, SAP? You're not getting a shout-out. You hear me, Pepsi? Forget it.
There you go. Give it to them.
Yeah, they're not going to get a shout-out here. Definitely not Pepsi. But now, is this something that's going to be state by state, mandated by the COVID situation, or what's the story with that? And how do you get chosen to be there?
I know it's state by state is the way that they've done it. It depends on what state that you live in and your football team is in. We obviously no Philadelphia fans in attendance, no Jets fans, no Giants fans. I think that they were talking about yesterday. I think there was about 15% capacity in Kansas City. So it just depends on what team and what arena that you're playing in. I think that they did a raffle for the season ticket holders on how they were able to distribute the tickets to the people on the outside for the fans to attend. But I know for myself as a Giants fan and a season ticket holder, my seats are in row 4. The first 10 rows of Giants Stadium. I'm saying it.
You call
first 10 rows of Giants Stadium are going to be wrapped like a tarp, like we've seen in if you've watched any of the soccer games where they're wrapped with the tarp with the sponsorship over them. So those are all going to be wrapped with sponsors. And then from there, they would figure out where they would put fans. But honestly, the way that things have been handled, just in New York and New Jersey, I highly doubt that there'll be Giants fans in attendance for games in 2020.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't planning on it anyway, but I was like, is there a chance I could get to a game? My wife is like, of course, this will be the season they go 8-0 at home. And I was like, I'll take it. And then I won't go next season because it'll just whammy them if I go. But speaking of last night's game and very interesting plays at the end of the game, look, the NFL now is like, okay, sports gambling, it's the way it is. We're making partnerships with some of these organizations as well. And, it used to be super, super taboo. Now it's mainstream. The last night, the other very interesting thing that happened in the game, the Chiefs are up by 2 possessions with 30 seconds left in the clock. And I had, I'm looking at it and I'm like, well, that's it. We're not going to get the over here. Talking about sports gambling. I had the over last night. I was like, look at this. Vegas is so good, man. We just missed the over by 2 points again, or 3 points. I think it was 2.5 points.
Yeah.
And then they bring the field goal unit out there, and I'm texting my buddies. We both have the same bet. I'm like, tell me they're gonna kick.
Block it.
They're gonna kick a field goal. And the thing goes up through the uprights, and I was like, this never works out in my favor. And of course, and I was like, I don't care if Deshaun Watson goes down and throws a Hail Mary and it goes there. But I was immediately thinking with that, as weird as that other play was with the loser formation and taking the knee, I was like, it was just bizarre because the Texans had no timeouts left.
Yeah.
The game was salted away, and they kicked it.
Well, believe me, that was the first thing that went through my mind. I'm sitting there seeing them run out the field goal team. I'm like, wait a second. What's going on here?
Right? You're like, what's
and at first I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, they couldn't have done that just for that. And then I'm thinking to myself, no preseason games, first week 1 game, give your kicker an opportunity to get a shot with some adversity and another team out there.
Right.
I mean, that's the way that, you go into any game and to try to get every single, situation type of football that you can get. So, I mean, honestly, I don't believe in any way, shape, or form that Andy Reid would be a coach that would believe in that or sit there to kind of contribute to, the Vegas odds. I think he's doing what he can to sharpen the sword for his Kansas City team for this season, because we know they're going to have a bullseye on their back as the returning and defending world champs.
Yeah, and I never would have thought that he was doing it for it. I was just like, is this part of the new league that they're accepting of gambling? Yeah. And they're like, well, let's make it interesting. Al Michaels did make, when the field goal unit went out there, he's like, well, this is going to make somebody happy. Terrible Al Michaels, I know. I'll work on it. But that was my immediate, and it's amazing. So there you go. There's a difference between the fan and somebody who played the game for 11 years, went to Pro Bowls, won Super Bowls. I'm like, this is about gambling. And you're like, no, it's about sharpening the special teams. And they were probably more interested in the long snap of the ball, even more than the kick. Because they were like, let's just get our fundamentals out there, guys. Very smart. That's why you are a football
in practice and in training camp, you can't go live field goal. You don't get those shots.
Right.
So that's your chance. So you know that you're up. I know that what it looked like, but I guarantee that's not what it was.
Yeah. And again, just so weird with Deshaun Watson. I'm like, well, if they kick that, they're definitely going to throw a Hail Mary here. And it was just, it's going to take a while for me to just let that one sink in. And if the Giants do that, I don't care if they're down 30 points. Just heave it in the end zone, guys. Let's go. And, of course, if somebody does get hurt, it's like, why'd they heave it in the end zone? My longest tenured player, Sterling Shepard, got hurt on the play. So it says, Sterling Shepard's the longest tenured player? Yes! NFL, not for long.
Oh, man.
It is crazy, though, because you guys, your line, we're going to hop into an area called COVID Confidential. I've got a couple more questions for you. I know we're almost out of time. But, it wasn't that long ago. You just retired a handful of years ago, and you guys played your line.
I know.
Was it 100 games straight together or close to that? Or I know you did.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was up in, I want to say in the 70s, 80s that we had consecutive starts together. And it didn't start off that way. I mean, when I came in 03, and by the time when Coach Coughlin came in 04, when we brought in Sean as a free agent and drafted Chris, and Rich coming back from the way that Rich came back from a spiral fractured fibula ankle,
amazing.
And then to bring in Kareem from the Jets, in 04, we were called the worst offensive line in the NFL. Joe Theismann said it on Monday Night Football. If that isn't something that is enough to poke you and to get you motivated, I don't know what else was. And from that point forward, we said to ourselves, we're going to change not only the outlook of what people think, we're going to change the style of the way that we play. And That's Giants football. Run the football down their throat, impose your will on people, and take it in the fourth quarter. And it took time for us to build up that continuity and those starts. But the problem with that is when you do that and you're all together, you're aging at the same time. There's not a youth movement. And when they tried the youth movement, either to come in and be replacements, which I had 4 people drafted to try taking my job, which never worked, or when they came in,
next one, next.
or when we knew that they just weren't the type of gritty offensive lineman you need to be in the NFL. You could be a nice basketball player. You can't be a nice offensive lineman. There is no ties when you're playing in the trenches. You either win your job or you lose your job. And you've got to be able to be there for 16 plus games and each one of those 60 plus minutes so that when your entire huddle and that sideline is looking out there, they can look all 5 of us in the eye and know that we're accountable and we're going to be out there fighting for it. I love what they've done with the dynamic of this new group that they've brought in. I love Will Hernandez. Nick Gates is a gritty guy, like a versatile guy. Andrew Thomas is not scared to be physical and is athletic. Yeah. We know how vital it was to get Kevin Zeitler to come in and fill at that right guard spot through the OBJ trade. And then it would have been obviously optimal if Andrew Thomas would have started at right tackle and with Nate Solder at left. But Nate Solder opted out of COVID. Right. He himself battled cancer and went through it and overcame it. His child had illness. You have absolutely complete understanding of why he stepped out this year.
100%.
But at least they had Cam Fleming to step in, who played in Dallas under Jason Garrett and in this scheme, and it was in New England with Joe Judge there. So at least he has veteran experience to help out this group. But the thing that I love, and I think one of the best offseason moves the Giants made, was to bring in Mark Colombo as their offensive line coach. I've known Mark Colombo literally since 2001. He was roommates on the Bears with one of my teammates at Illinois. So I've known him throughout that entire time. We've been in the NFC East together, battled each other twice, and we had that continuity and would talk to him after games. He's played the position, knows what it's like to see the game through that lens, and he knows what NFC East football and offensive line play is all about. So you see that attitude coming out of that group right now.
And one thing that you just mentioned there that I'm not hearing a lot about, and maybe it's just because there's so much pressure, there's so much attention on the uniqueness of Joe Judge and how he has seemed to grow up so quickly and be this. He's everything that when he interviewed with the Maras and the Tisches, they were like, this is the guy. We don't need to see anybody else. We'll take other interviews, but this is, from what I understood, from people that I was talking to within the, my insiders, Dave, outside of you, the people were saying, this is the guy. But Jason Garrett, the Cowboys, the nemesis for the last, 8 years, 10 years as the head coach?
Yeah.
And now he takes all that knowledge and, maybe even the mental stuff that he knows with Jerry Jones breathing down their neck and everything all the time, which you don't have here. And he was with the Giants before. Then he went to, it's almost like it's like a Trojan horse we sent there for a decade, and now he's back.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to see the offense that this guy pulls off. And then when we do play the Cowboys, when the Giants play the Cowboys, I love acting like I'm on the team. Like when we play the Cowboys, when I line up there on the left side of the line, scared out of my wits. But when the Giants play the Cowboys, I just feel that twice this season, we have an advantage that the Eagles do not have, that the Washington Football Club does not have in the division.
I love the hire of Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett was my backup quarterback my rookie season in 2003. And it means a lot for him to understand what it means to represent the New York Giants as a football player and now as a coach. And once again, being a former quarterback that was thrust into the lineup when Troy Aikman got hurt. It's a little bit very similarities to what Daniel Jones went through, isn't it?
Sure.
So the fact that he brings an offense that when he was the offensive coordinator of the Dallas Cowboys and strictly the old coordinator, they're in the top 10 of offenses every single season. Yeah. He's got a great scheme where it's Giants football about techniques, fundamentals, running the football downhill and building play action off of it. So I was excited about Jason Garrett Because when you go from someplace where you've been the head coach and you've been let go and fired, you learn so much from those experiences, that how to be detail oriented, how to help Coach Judge throughout his first year. And that's another connection that people don't even realize. Jason Garrett came into the NFL with his first coaching stint with the Miami Dolphins under who? Nick Saban hired him.
Right.
So there's another connection there. So, I'm excited to see the potential of this Giants football team and this offense moving forward. We know it's not going to be easy when you start the season off Steelers, Bears, 49ers, and Rams. But I think if we see progress as a football team and out of the Giants football team, where they're not losing games based upon mental errors on the defensive side of the ball, where it's assignment, alignment, and fly to the football. And if we're not out of the playoffs by Halloween, like we've been the last couple seasons, right, that'll be a sign of progress of things to come. And I think for this Giants football team to be somewhere right around 500, maybe be 7-9, isn't too far off, man.
Sure. Yeah, and look, it's the first team that they're playing. People have I don't like this, people say it's a sexy pick. It is a popular pick to have the Steelers in the Super Bowl. Your buddies at Good Morning Football, I was watching them yesterday, and 2 out of 4 of them had the Steelers in the Super Bowl. If not 3 out of 4 of them, definitely 2 out of 4 of them.
Yeah,
saying that they were going to be, of course, 2 or 3 of them also picked Tom Brady, and it's like, come on, the hype. We're going to find out quick. I think we're going to find out on Sunday when Drew Brees gets in the dome, throws 4 touchdowns over the top of that defense.
Yeah.
How all of a sudden Tom is not the favorite in his division for the first time in 15, 16 years.
I think
we're going to find out quickly.
Think about, we're going to be watching Matt Ryan, Tom Brady, and Drew Brees all in the same division, as well as Teddy Bridgewater. You want to talk about division games that everybody is going to watch. Those are the division games that you're going to love to see, those battles between those quarterbacks. The one thing I will say that is a competitive advantage for this Buccaneers team going to New Orleans, they're not walking into the Terror Dome. Something myself, I have never won in New Orleans. I am 0-4 in my career, 3 games in the NFL, 1 game losing in the Sugar Bowl up against LSU in 2001. It is one of the most difficult places to play when that place is rocking.
Yeah, I remember a particular Monday night game where Drew Brees just had his way with the Giants, and it was tough. And I'm just like, and you guys are on the road there, and Eli's hometown and everything else. It's like, if anybody wants to win there, it's Eli.
Yeah.
And that offense is going to go out there and put on a show. But then you got the magic of Drew Brees, the magic of that place. I just drove my buddy from New York City to Austin, Texas. And we stopped a couple places along the way, and we stopped in New Orleans. So I was about as close to being inside the Superdome as pretty much any fan is going to be, outside of the few lucky ones that get in there. But it's an intimidating place to play. It's a party atmosphere. Talk about a festival.
Oh, yeah.
The whole city is a festival.
No question.
But it's also interesting to see, coming from New York, places like Nashville, places like New Orleans, Houston, just absolutely dead right now. And nobody has a choice, and it's just the way it is. But this is the whole country. We're going to come back. We're going to come stronger. And I know I got to wrap this up here, so I'm going to ask you 2 quick questions in our section called COVID Confidential.
All right.
My first one is, and you touched on it earlier, during this time, you've had to become a teacher.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you weren't expecting that. Nobody was. All of a sudden, parents everywhere are like, how do we do this? Of course, now you have unbelievable respect for the teachers, if you didn't have that already. But what was that like? What was that bonding experience like with you and your daughter? And did you relearn the multiplication tables, like fractions? What did you have to relearn?
It was definitely different. I definitely, after sitting there asking her what she had to do for the day, I definitely glanced ahead to see if I knew what some of it was when it came to the math. I made sure I did my research on the side. But, it just goes to show you how far along I mean, the youth and the generations are right now with technology. I mean, like I said, my daughter Addison just started 8th grade this year. She's 13. I mean, she could build videos. She can do graphics. She can do all these different types of things by using her computer. That we never had that accessibility. So the skills that they're learning now that are going to translate to the future are so vital. I mean, let's face it, the world pretty soon in the next 10, 15 years, it's all going to be computers. I mean, we see the industries changing, and that old school blue collar is now starting to get replaced because of people want to be more cost efficient and use bigger standards. And that's one thing that, you know, as a younger generation, you still need to be able to be street smart and have common sense, but you also have to be able to appreciate what the value of a dollar is. I don't think that's something that a lot of kids out there understand, is, especially in a time like now. I hope that they do. Yeah. How difficult it is for some parents to put their kids through, whether it's grade school, Catholic schools, activities. You understand and you appreciate when you look back at your life how hard your parents worked to give you every single opportunity to thrive. And I mean, that's what gives me purpose. Every time I wake up in the morning, first thing I do, I have a picture of my daughter Addison next to my bed. That's what gives me my life. That's what gives me my energy. That's why I, you know, go into each day with passion. And the other thing I do, make my bed. It's the first thing I start on the day, and it's because of my father. I know some people have heard these stories, but I mean, this is going back to me from grade school. I think I was in 4th or 5th grade, running late to Saturday practice, and I wanted to get free throws in it for basketball. Dad, we got to get to practice. We got to get to practice. Make your bed. Got to get to practice. Make your bed. What is it about making this bed stuff? You remember the old father sit down, the hand on the shoulder, and he said, David, he's like, number one, it's the first goal and objective and mission that you can start a positive day with. Number two, if you're walking out in public and you're telling people you're organized, you're detail-oriented, people can trust you and you're accountable, are you living the same life outside that you're living at home? And those are the types of things that I've learned early on in my life that I absolutely love seeing out of my daughter by being able to spend this time with her. Wanted to go and get to workouts 5 or 10 minutes early to stretch and warm up. Those are the things that separate kids at an early age by the habits that they create. And it's the most rewarding thing to see it out of not only your child, but for me growing up with 3 boys, out of your daughter, and for her to take up those examples and to integrate it into her own life.
Yeah, and I have personally never been known as the on-time machine myself, but there is something that I probably would have been fined by Coughlin about 1,000 times. He would have kicked me off the team just for being late, even though the great tight end that I was in my head. I just it's something about that. I remember hearing Chris Rock. Somebody was interviewing him, and he said, are you 15 minutes late or 15 minutes early to everything? He's like, I am 15 minutes early to everything, regardless of what it is. He's like, picking up the kids from school, I'm early. Yeah. Showing up for work, something, I'm always early.
Yeah.
Whether that's, to avoid traffic or what. But what an unbelievable, it sounds so simple. It sounds so simple. People used to bust chops about it.
I'm sure you've experienced this as well. As somebody who's an early riser and in the car going to work on a daily basis, being early, I could tell within the first 2 seconds of looking at the people driving next to me if they're prepared and ready for the day or if they're not. The person listening to the radio, person listening to the radio, drinking coffee, calm, collected, they're ready for the day. You get the people weaving in and out of lanes, guys doing their ties, women doing makeup. I'm like,
electric shaver.
I've always wanted to be in a routine to where you don't have to rush, because when you rush, you skip over the small details. And we know in life there are no small details when it comes to being a professional athlete or the way that you approach your life and business.
Well said. And speaking of the small details, during COVID, besides, we just found out how you became a certified public school teacher. So congratulations for that. That's another, you're going to have to figure out a spot on your wall of fame there to hang up that teacher COVID certification.
Little gold star up there.
Yeah, a little gold star. Put a scratch and sniff sticker on a test and hang it up there on the wall or something. But was there something during quarantine besides, keeping your child alive and keeping her in school and all of a sudden having her there all the time, which was, a stressor and so on. But did you have time was there something you were like, you know what, this is going to go on for a while? I've always wanted to, I know you can speak your Croatian and get around the country pretty well, but was there something else that you were like, I want to learn to cook, or I want to learn Spanish, or I want to learn something, I want to work on my rap game? I don't know. What was there something that you said, this is it, I'm going to take this time, I'm going to learn that instrument, I'm going to do this thing?
I actually did. When the Corona lockdown started and the shutdown of everything, it made me start to reflect on losing one of my best friends in December from Chicago. You remember my buddy Sean? It was one of the hardest things for one of the guys that, I've learned so much from and meant so much to me in my life and my career to lose somebody like that. And towards the end of March, I started to get like sad and sorry about it. And I'm like, you know what? I know I'm not the only one feeling this way out of me and my friends. And I said, I want to start something to turn this around and do something to honor him. That following Sunday, I sent out a group text to about 22 of my buddies that I went to high school with, grade school with, south side of Chicago guys. I said, I don't know about you guys, but I said, if we sit around and be sorry, Sean would be one of those guys that would want to kick us all in the ass. I said, how about starting tomorrow in honor of his number 33? Let's go 33 consecutive days with doing body weight workouts. And it started simple. Like it started with 14 push-ups, 20 or 30 body weight squats. And each day for 33 days, it amped up to where we were doing 500 squats a day and guys managing anywhere from 150, 200 to 300 push-ups during that time. And it was just awesome to see everybody putting up green checks that they finished it on the day and sending motivational stuff to each other. And some of my friends setting before and after pictures, changing their diet. One of my buddies was getting ready to get married. He looks like a completely different person in the suit that he was going to wear before and the suit that he's wearing now. And I mean, those are the things that you could utilize, a time where you could take adversity and turn it one way, or take that adversity and be a leader and turn it into a positive. And we started off, we did 33 days. And after 33 days, we took we'll start like a 6 or 7 day, like we'll rest for a little bit, figure out what we want to do. By that following Sunday, everybody's like, let's go again. Let's get something else different. And we've been doing it every day since. So, I mean, those are the types of things that anybody can do. Anybody can set up. And it's something that can keep you disciplined and keep you positive. And we know that when your body's in shape, your mind's in shape, your spirit's better, your energy's better. And in a time like this, it'd be easy just to sit in your house and to think about all the negatives instead of taking the positive of a way to transform your life into the better.
All right. After this, I'm going to do 33 push-ups. Maybe I'll send you a little video of it. I don't know about 500 squats. I wouldn't be able to walk for the rest of the year. But I will. I'll take your early push-up challenge, and we'll see if we can keep it going from there. But Dave, thank you so much for the time. How can we hear more of these stories from you? Where can we follow you? Where can we listen to you? Where can we hear your insight on NFL stuff? Unlike my insight at the NFL of the NFL stuff, people want to hear the professionals. Where can they follow you? Where can they hear you?
Every Wednesday morning, I host the opening drive on Sirius XM NFL Radio, Channel 88, from 7 a.m. until 10 a.m. On Sundays, I host Sunday Football on WFAN every Sunday before Giants kickoffs. That's from 9 o'clock until usually noon. I do a lot of the Giants pregame and postgame shows. And then if you go to Giants.com or the Giants app, you'll see throughout the entire week, I do different breakdowns of players, positional breakdowns of who's going to be matching up against who. I do above the numbers, guys that are on the Giants team that need to play above the numbers in order for the team to win, and the matchups that they're going to face. So those are ways that you can watch me.
Awesome. All right. Well, I got to go do my push-ups. You got to get back to homeschooling, unless is your daughter now in school again? Is she actually at school, or is it
No,
hybrid?
no, they won't officially start that until October. So they're still doing some homeschooling here, and they're easing everybody into it. But more importantly, you're just happy that your kid's safe and sound.
Yeah, luckily she's got that certified teacher and you there to help out with that. Ladies and gentlemen, two-time Super Bowl champion, NFL analyst. Check him out on Sirius. Check him out on WFAN. And this Sunday, you guys got a lot to talk about. So 9 a.m., WFAN for people in New York. And you can get it online too, WFAN.com. So if you're not in New York or the New York area, check it out there. Dave, thanks so much. Enjoy your football weekend.
Absolutely. You too, Patrick. Always a pleasure. And best of luck to everyone out there at Festival Pass.
Thank you. We'll see you next time on Festival Pass Stories.
Boom.
All right.